So this video is going to be about the special names of squared and cubed, or squaring a number and cubing a number, and what those things mean. And then also how to undo squaring or cubing a number using roots. All right, so let's get started. If we look at this line right here, we can say this line represents the number 3 because it is 3 long. As you can see on the grid there, that line is 3 long. If I were to square the number, it's going to look like this. It has turned into a 3 by 3 square, which means if I were to count how many squares fit inside of it, these little squares in here, or alternatively calculate the area of that square, because it is 3 by 3, the area is going to be 3 times 3, which is 9. However, the other way to write 3 times 3 is 3 squared. So that is where the name comes from. When you square a number, that is why it is multiplied by itself, because that is how you find the area of a square with that side length. You can also see it on the right side here. It's the same thing, but instead of counting the squares, you're counting the dots. If we take it a step further into the third dimension, we can cube a number. So we start with the number 3. We then go on to 3 squared, which is 9. And then we can go into 3 cubed, which is 27. So let's see why that's the case. Again, 3 squared is 9 because it's 3 lots of 3 to give you those 9 squares on the front. This one here, if we look just at this front face, we can count how many squares are on there. We would do 3 times 3 again to give us 9. Now what that means is that there's 9 cubes on that front slice. But as you can see, there is 1, 2, 3 slices, each with 9 cubes in them each. So we would then do 9 times 3, which is 27. So again, when we cube the number 3, we're doing 3 times 3 to get 9, and then times 3 again to get 27, which we can also write as 3 cubed equals 27. All right. The last thing we want to do is be able to undo squaring and cubing. So just how you can take the number 10, you could add 4 to it, but then subtract 4 to undo that to get back to 10 again. We would like to know how to undo a square or a cube. So let's have a go at that. If we have the number 4 and we square it, just like we have in that square to the left, we are doing 4 times 4, and we are getting 16. Now, if I want to know what number I have to square in order to get 16, or what number I started with, I can do the square root of 16, which will give me 4. So on the calculator, if we were to do 4 squared, we would get 16. But if we were to use this button here, we can do the square root of 16 to get back to 4 again. So again, this button here is how we do our square roots. Now, if we were to have the same thing but as a cube with a side length of 4, the volume of this cube would be 4 cubed, which is 64. But if I want to undo a cube, I need to do the cubed root. All the cubed root looks like is this. We draw the square root symbol, but we put a little 3 here to indicate that it's the third root, or the cubed root, instead of just the regular square root. We then want to do this cubed root of 64. And again, on a calculator, we can do the cubed root. You might notice it's written above the square root in yellow here. So we're going to press Shift, and then that one to get the cubed root. We can do the cubed root of 64 to get back to 4 again. So if we square something and want to undo it, we could square root. If we cube something and want to undo it, we can cubed root. Now, just like how we have higher powers than squared or cubed, and they don't have special names. So let's say I wanted to do 4 to the power of 5. We use that button there with the blank spot. We get 1024. But then if I wanted to undo the 5th power, using that same button, but in yellow up above it, there's a root with a blank spot for a power. We can do the 5th root of 1024 to get back to 4. So again, 4 to the power of 5 equals 1024, which means the fifth root of 1024 equals 4. Just how multiplying and dividing are opposite, adding and subtracting are opposite, powers and roots are the opposite to each other.